Thank you for joining us on another Cash or Trash episode. I'd like to warn everybody that some of these videos may be a little upsetting to some of you because we may be talking a little bit of trash about some of these brands, especially if you work for the company, if you own any of these brands, or if you're just a fan of them. We may talk a little bit of trash and knock them down a peg or two, but there may be some good stuff as well, so check it out.
Catch me howling at the moon.
Hey everyone, it's Alan at Cobblers Plus, and we got another Cash or Trash episode. This is another one that we already did a Recraft video on as well, so if you want to check that out, I'll leave a link in the description down below. But as far as any kind of comments or anything like that people have left, and maybe some people blew up or ranted and raved about it when I was talking about it during the Recraft video. If you want to stay till the very end of the video, check out those responses and stuff. You'll definitely be able to check those out as well. But let's go ahead and jump into it. So we got a pair of Gokey boots. These are called the Classics. These ones, obviously, because they've been recrafted, they have a different sole on them from the factory. They have something that's a little bit softer. It's a Vibram crepe sole. Still a Vibram, but it's a softer crepe one, so it'll probably wear out a little bit quicker, brand new from the factory. But let's dive in as far as giving these guys a rating and everything. Material quality, I'm gonna have to give these guys a 9. They are really good material. They've got they don't really have much of a liner. In other words, from the from the bottom of the boot, right where the stitches are right here, upward, but from this stitch right here downward inside, they have this nice little liner that kind of cups all around and everything. Does cause a few problems with the recraftability, but we'll get to that once we get to the recrafting portion of it. Build quality, we're gonna give them a 9 just because they do have a lot of nice quality builds on it. There is one dilemma that I'll point out for those of you who are very nitpicky about small minute details and stuff like that. These uppers around here, right where it's stitched, this is going to hold the liner together, it's going to hold the upper, and all that just gets hugged in. It does look like it's hand stitched, so it's a little wonky in some areas, so keep that in mind if you're somebody who's just going to be nitpicky about every little detail. These are not the boots for you, because that it does look like it's a hand stitched section there, and hand crafted stuff like that almost never has perfection. That's kind of also the beauty of natural or handmade stuff too, are those minor flaws. That's what art pieces are like. Those flaws in them is what makes them art. Comfort, I'm going to give them an 8 just because the way the liner is, because that liner, it goes from these stitches all the way downward and kind of hugs everything nicely, and then underneath the liner you've got some cushion, you've got the shank in there too and everything. It just hugs everything a little bit nicely too, which is kind of great. Support, it's a 6 just because it's not a supportive design or anything like that. There's no major arch support. Still some points there though, just because of the way that the liner and everything hugs the foot, so there's got to be at least a little bit of support feature to it, but not much when I was working on it. There is no cork in there either. It's just a cushion of some sort. I couldn't get to it unfortunately during the recraft just because it's really tucked in there. In order for me to get to it, I have to unstitch this right here to be able to see what's inside. Again, we'll get to the recraft portion. Collectability, you got to give them an 8. It's a Gokey. It's a cool thing to own and stuff. Plus saying Gokey is kind of fun to do if you are a boot collector as well. I've got a pair of Gokeys. It's pretty cool to say. Showoffability, you got to give them a 9 just because if somebody looks down at your feet, because some styles too that Gokey does have are really interesting. If you want to stick to the end of the video, I'll show you guys a pair that I worked on and did some customizations to. It was a ridiculous project and it was just crazy, so definitely check that out. Or if you already maybe have saw it during the Recraft video, you already know what I'm talking about as well. Maintenance on these is a 9. Very easy to maintain, good soft leather. Practically you could use almost any product for a conditioner on here. I don't recommend any kind of polishes on it because it's kind of an oiled leather, so polishes tend to have waxes and they're just going to settle on it and crack. And now we get to the recrafting. The recrafting, I'm gonna have to give it a 5 just because There are things that we can do on them, like this pair that we did, which was simple. It's nothing too hard, where we just replaced one layer of midsole, because there's two on here, and then we replaced one layer of the midsole and added the sole over top, and that layer of midsole that we replaced, we stitched around it as if it's a Goodyear welt, so outsole stitching. However, if you end up needing to replace that other layer of midsole, the one that's closest to the boot upper, that's where you come into the problems, because that's stitched in on the inside. It's a design called Blake Rapid Stitch, and so that means that first the midsole is stitched through the inside and through the midsole all the way clear through, and then you've got another layer of midsole or sole that ends up getting stitched on the outside. And in our case, we had a midsole stitched on and then the sole was added. However, because it's got that liner in there that kind of tucks all around, it tucks in underneath the foot and then up the sides here of the walls, and then gets stitched right where these stitches are again. And the only two ways technically to get that midsole then replaced is, one, you're fine with us stitching clear through that midsole and we're not able to pluck the old stitches very easily. You know, then we'll have to like put a flat insole over top of it, and for some people that might not be acceptable. For some that might be completely fine. Or two, we have to take apart this whole upper right here where that seam is all the way around, and then finally be able to work on that and everything, take it all apart, and cost is definitely going to be high. We're talking about close to what the price of the boots are practically, because there's going to be a lot of hand stitching involved also afterwards. It's a whole process taking it apart. It's a whole nother process to put it back together as well. So keep that in mind on those. That is also another dilemma, is that if your shank inside busts or the cushion wears out or anything, it may cause some problems, because that's the only way you can have access to it, is taking that apart and getting in there and redoing it all over again and stuff. So there may be a chance that it might just be more worth it to send it off to Gokey, and because they have, you know, certain parts of the boots and stuff already pre-cut and everything like that and all taken care of, for them it might just be as easy as just tearing it off, restitching it all together, and that's all they have to do practically. So they may have some things already pre-assembled, so keep that in mind. Price point, we'll give them about a medium on it, yeah, a medium, because the category that we're gonna have to put these in is technically an outdoor fashion. I had to double check with Marcus on that because I had no idea what to even put this in. It's definitely not a work boot, it's not a heritage boot, but outdoor kind of fashion boot. In other words, I definitely would say it's closer to that, just because it's technically for outdoor purposes to muck around in, but the design of it, most of the people that own these things, they're not going hiking for 5 miles in them. They're just wearing them around town, showing them off with a certain, like, you know, dressed up in a certain way or something. So that's what I'll give them, is that outdoor fashion. And so in that category, we'll probably give them that medium, because there are boots out there in that outdoor category alone that are definitely even higher than that as well. Originally, during my Recraft video, I couldn't make up my mind whether I'm going to give them a cash or trash, because it was so close in my head as far as trying to figure it out. But then when I wrote down all the points, everything, and give them a rating, everything adds up to where it's a cash actually on these guys. Between the price point and everything else on it, the lowest rating we have is the recrafting, just because there's a lot of complications involved with these boots. Second lowest is the support feature, but a lot of these boots so far that we've been giving ratings and stuff to, they're not designed as supportive footwear. So cash is definitely what it's going to be, and so I hope this kind of gave you guys some ideas. So check it out at the end of the video after those few days pass of posting the Recraft video. I'll kind of read through some of them, see what kind of comments and responses some people may have, and then at the end of this video I'll definitely end up kind of responding to some of them as well. So stay tuned for those.